Hey, what's up everybody? This is Flashback Toys and Collectibles. Today I'll be taking a look at Wun-Dar, the Savage HeMan figure from the Masters of the Universe Classics toy line. So before we open this up, let's take a quick look at the box. For the adult collector. And on the back of the box it shows some of the other figures that are available in the Classics toy line. And at the bottom is a description of Wundar. 100 years before Prince Adam was born, Wundar, a warrior from deep in the savage underground city of Tundaria, rescued a young woman who turned out to be the Goddess of Eternia. She provided him with cosmic battle armor and a sophisticated ray gun that could tap into almost unlimited power. The Goddess tasked Wundar to protect both halves of the Sword of He and keep them apart lest they fall into the hands of evil. Like many warriors before him, Wundar became known as the HeMan, battling in a savage way to keep evil from obtaining the key to the great power hidden inside the forgotten Castle Grayskull. So that's a pretty cool description for Wundar, and it really gives you some nice background for the character. Now let's go ahead and open this up. So what I like to do with some of the classic figures is keep the box somewhat intact, and a good way to do that is to cut at the bottom of the box. And by doing this, I can put the figure back in the box at a later point for display purposes. So here's what I do. I use an X-Acto knife and I cut at the bottom of the box and go all the way around to this point here. And that creates a flap that I can open and then drag the figure out. Now this is somewhat of a tight fit, especially because of how it's shaped up here, but you will be able to pull the figure out and be able to put him back in at a later point if you choose to. So now if I just pull really hard from the bottom here, I should be able to pull him right out. And there he goes. So as you can see here, the box is still intact, and I can use this at a later point. Wundar comes with quite a bit of accessories. He has a full sword. So here's a full power sword with some really cool colors, silver and black. He also has a half sword with the same colors on it. A ray gun. And a loaf of bread. So to give you a little bit of info on why there's a loaf of bread included with Wundar, it's because in the early 80s, there was a promotion for a HeMan looking figure, and many people thought this promotion was held by the Wonder Bread Company. The promotional figure looked just like HeMan, except he had brown hair, brown shorts, and black boots. For many years this was thought to be true, and he was tagged as the Wonder Bread HeMan. But recently this theory was debunked by a guy on YouTube called Spectre Creative. He has a very interesting video that breaks down where this figure came from originally, and he's got proof to back it up. To sum it up, what it was an offer by MATTEL, where you buy 3 of their figures and get 1 for free. And that figure you got for free was basically just HeMan with different colors. And if you want to learn more about the history of Wonder Bread HeMan, also known as Savage HeMan or Wundar, be sure to check out his video about this topic, and I'll put a link in the description down below. Okay, let's take a closer look at Wundar. And I can't help but think that he's named Wundar based off of the Wonder Bread HeMan name. So he's wearing some black Zodak armor. Here's an old HeMan figure wearing the original black Zodak armor that came in a weapons pack in the 80s. He's got some brown shorts, black belt, some black armor on the wrists. And the boots are black with gray stripes. And then the armor on this wrist is a little bit different. So it's painted black with some silver on it. It's got some nice details there. And then his head looks just like HeMan, except for it's the brown hair. So the detail on this chest armor is really nice. On the side of it here, it looks like he has some bullets that go around it. And those are kind of present on the old armor, but they're not near as detailed. And notice here on the back there's a logo that pays tribute to the Wonder Bread HeMan theory. Now let's go ahead and remove this armor. So this attaches quite a bit different than the original armor would have. We can just pull it over his head here. So here's the new chest armor and the old chest armor. And they're very close to being the same size. In fact, I'm pretty sure this will fit on the old figure no problem. I'm going to try it on just for fun here. It's actually a little bit tighter on this figure, believe it or not. So here's what the Wundar classic armor looks like on the original HeMan. So just like the original figure that was released in the 80s with the MATTEL promotion, this is basically just HeMan with a different color scheme. His face is HeMan, the body is HeMan, we just have different colors for the boots, shorts, armor, and hair. So the original HeMan action figures from the 80s had very limited articulation. For one, they had solid arms and legs. But with the Classics toy line, they got all kinds of articulation. You can pivot at the shoulder, the bicep, the elbow, the wrist, the waist, the stomach, the top of the leg, the knee, the boot, the ankle, and the head can swivel up and down and side to side. So the classic figures are capable of posing in all kinds of different positions. And these figures are pretty easy to stand up as well. Let's go ahead and put his chest armor back on. It slides right over his head. Now one issue I do find with the chest armor is it likes to come loose quite a bit. Like it pops out pretty easy. So if you move him too much, this likes to come apart. Let's try out his weapons. Here is the half sword. So because this is a half sword, it fits extremely loose. And he'll hold it, but it falls out of there pretty easy. Here is the full sword. So that's a much better fit. And it looks like he's got the same grip on both hands, so you can actually hold a sword on both hands here. That's kind of neat. Here's the ray gun. And that's a nice tight fit. It stays in there really nice. And for that loaf of bread, there doesn't really seem to be a way for him to hold that or store it. At least I'm not seeing a way to. For anyone out there trying to get their hands on the original Wundar from the 1980s, they are super expensive. Sites like eBay are selling Wundar, also known as Wonder Bread HeMan or Savage HeMan, for a minimum of around $1,000, and I've seen them go as high as $5,000. They are crazy expensive and a very sought after item for collectors. This Classics version of Wundar, I believe, was released back in 2010, and these are quite a bit more affordable, although I would still not call these cheap. An average price for this guy is around $200. But I was lucky enough to find this guy on eBay last month for right around $80. But that's considered a steal, and I really had to hunt for a price like that. The Classics toy line is generally described as being around 7 inches tall. When measuring this guy, he measures at about 6 3/4 of an inch. And here's a comparison with the height difference between the original HeMan and the classic Wundar. And here it is next to the laser power HeMan that's also from the Classics toy line. And this guy measures at about 7 inches tall, so he's just a little bit taller. Okay, let's go ahead and have some fun with this guy. Let's try some head swaps. So, we'll pop off his head here, which is really tight. And first we'll try a laughing Prince Adam, which I am not a fan of this head, but we'll see how he looks anyway. And there it is. It doesn't matter what body it's on. It just does not look good. It looks funny. Next up, we have a HeMan robot head. And that looks weird as well, but definitely better. Now let's try a Faker Filmation head. And that actually works really well. I like the way that looks. Next up, I have an older Dolph Lundgren head. And that's really, really weird. Next is the retro HeMan head. And that kind of works, especially if you painted that hair brown. And last up is the Rebel Leader HeMan head. That actually looks pretty cool. And it kind of looks like Dolph Lundgren from certain angles. Like on the side it does, but from the front, not as much. So overall, I think this is a pretty awesome figure. It's got a lot of great detail, and it makes a great addition to my Masters of the Universe collection. If you liked this video, if you could hit that like button and please subscribe, and have yourself a great day, and I'll see you next time.